Hello everyone! You've seen the first game I've played over the weekend. This is the second game, and as you've seen in that first game, I really played passively, and my opponent punished me severely. So this game, I didn't prepare for this game either, but I did have a better good night's sleep, and I definitely decided I will play more actively this game. So I found an old photo I thought you might enjoy. This is me and my chess club colleagues. I think it's some 7 years ago when we won the Croatian third league. That's from the left. That's me. You can see there. Then you have Jan Almighty. You know Jan. You've seen him plenty of times on my channel. Third is Slavko Martic. That's Jozarov's dad. Fourth is Marijan Belani, candidate master, also from my hometown. My opponent in this game, fifth Michel Bertucci, and the sixth is Professor Marijan Garac. You also seen my game against him, played in the my chess club championship. So yeah, that's basically it. I didn't really prepare, but I definitely decided to play more actively, and I have the black pieces again because I skipped one game, so I only played 2 games. He opened with d4. I played knight to f6. He played knight to f3, I played g6, we have c4 and bishop to g7, so the king's Indian defense. Here he went for knight to c3 and I decided to go d5 to transpose into the Grunfeld. He doesn't go for the main line, he plays e3, I castle, and he goes for queen to b3. This is the Vienna variation of the Grunfeld. And I know some people play this by capturing on c4, but I don't like this style for black. Um, Usually I prefer c6 or e6. I played e6 here, of course, because my plan was to push c5. He played bishop to d3, and now I played c5. I didn't want to play passively like the previous game, so here I decided to give up a pawn just to gain more control in the center. He played c captures on d5, I played e captures on d5, and he played d captures on c5. As he does have to do something, I'm threatening c4. So he grabbed a pawn, and I played knight to c6. So he's up a pawn, but I have decent development and more control in the center. So he castled, and I played rook to e8. I still didn't really figure out a way how to develop my light square bishop, as I can't really move it. He's attacking my b7 pawn, and I didn't really like rook to b8, as this e pawn can always go forward, and bishop to f4 will simply force my rook back. Still a thing to consider. Here he probably should have played rook to d1, continue developing pieces, but he decided to take advantage of this pin. So he played bishop to b5, and although this is a fine move, maybe not moving the same piece twice in the opening, and bishop to b5 will always be an idea. But okay, bishop to b5, and here I went into a really deep think, because now that he played bishop to b5, I was actually very happy to see this move, as now my b7 pawn is no longer a threat, so I can develop my light square bishop. So here I really spent a lot of time calculating, maybe even like 25 minutes, can't really remember exactly how much time it was, and I played bishop to f5. And there were some ideas to cover, like maybe knight to d4, trying to attack my pinned knight, but I can always just capture it and attack his queen on b3. I will have time to deal with the bishop attacking my rook. But he played rook to d1, now bringing a rook to the open file, now having a triple attack on my d5 pawn, and I played bishop to e4, protecting it, and if he captures it, I don't mind giving up the light square bishop. I will simply improve the position of this knight, and I didn't really think it was worthy worrying about the d5 pawn now. So he played knight to d4. Now he's attacking my pinned piece, and this was the position I was considering when I played that bishop to f5 move. Here I played knight to g4, and it's a very complicated position because white has so many options. For example, you have to see that if f3 is at all possible. If black plays f3, which my opponent didn't play, I was definitely going to go queen to h4 with threats of queen to f2, queen captures on h2, and now after he captures it, I would have this bishop to e5 move, and here I thought, I can't lose this game. I can only play and then, you know, either win or draw this game. Whatever he does, for example, captures, I can always capture on h2. If he doesn't capture, if he plays g3, I can simply capture it with the bishop. So I didn't find anything wrong with this for black, and I thought, you know, either I will create something or, you know, I'll just be able to draw at least. And another thing is, after this knight to g4 move, a move I didn't even consider was h3. I did consider it for a little bit, but I thought that creates just too many holes. I can always go queen h4, knight captures on f2. But h3 was actually the best move for white here. But I didn't consider it, and after the game he said he didn't consider it either. But after the game he thought about, he said to me, what if I played h3 at the moment you played knight g4? And I said, I haven't even like really given that much thought, but after h3 I would definitely have to go for knight captures, and after king captures, queen captures on h4, queen to h4 check, and then what could happen, I don't know. I didn't calculate this line thoroughly, but I saw that I would have this bishop captures and the knight captures on d4. If he wants to capture with the rook after capturing with the knight, then rook to e1 will definitely be an idea always, but unfortunately, this would definitely go his favor if he decided to go for this. But after knight to g4, he played knight captures on e4, and now I played knight captures on d4. First eliminating this knight, now his queen is attacked, his bishop is attacked, so he does have to capture the knight. He plays e captures on d4, and now I played rook captures here. And here again, you have to consider the move f3. What to do if f3 is played? F3 is again the best move for white, as here I would definitely have to think about a lot of things. But I played this rook captures on e4 like really quickly, and I was really confident about this move. So he didn't even consider seriously playing f3. But after f3, you know, black does have some counterplay, but if white really defends properly, then white should be better in the end. But he didn't like the fact that his rooks were still not connected. For example, even if he pushes f3, then he has to consider a lot of things. Can I capture on d4 with check? If he captures with rook, then is rook to e1 a problem? Queen is coming to h4. A lot of things to consider here, so he thought he can play bishop to e3, now defending his d4 pawn, and now f3 is still a threat. But now it's a different story. Now I played queen captures on h4. Now f3 is no longer possible because queen captures on h2 is a threat. He played h3, and here he missed my idea, and this was also my idea, so I played rook captures on e3. Now I'm attacking his queen, and he does have to capture the rook, so he played f captures on e3, and now I played queen to f2 check. He played king to h1, only move, and now I played knight captures on e3. I'm attacking his rook on d1, also threatening checkmate on g2. And here he played bishop to f1. Rook to g1 was also possible. If he played rook to g1, then I can capture on d4. So now the material is fine for me. I'm up a pawn, but he still has to do something. He would definitely have to give up at least the exchange. So after knight captures, rook captures, I can capture the other pawn, and being 2 pawns up, I mean, this was the best I could hope for, you know, out of that position, being up 2 pawns in the end game. But after this knight captures on e3, he played bishop to f1 for some reason. Although I did consider bishop to f1, but I thought rook to g1 was a bit better. He played bishop to f1, and now I played knight captures on d1, rook captures on d1, and now bishop captures on d4. So this now bishop captures on d4 comes with a great tempo, because now again I'm threatening queen to g1 checkmate, because the bishop is now blocking rook's defense of the g1. But okay, he plays bishop to b5. This is a very nice move. Now there is no longer the threat of checkmate. The rook can come to f1. The bishop is preventing my rook from coming to e8. So it's not that easy to develop. I played rook to d8 here. Rook to d8 because, of course, he was threatening to capture my pawn here. And now rook to f1 is definitely a possibility. I would have to capture the pawn on b2, but he decided to go for c6. c6 with the idea of grabbing the b pawn and also the d5 pawn, as he would attack it with the bishop. I played b captures, he played bishop captures, now attacking my pawn, and here I was really low on the clock. I had like 5 minutes, but you know, I'm always low on the clock because I like to calculate, and I try to calculate a lot of variations, so usually it will eat up most of my time, and the time controls were, you know, decent classical time controls, hour and a half per player plus 30 seconds increment per move. So here there was no real way to defend this, nor did I want to defend this. I played king to g7 with the idea that if he captures, he no longer has any bishop captures on f7 with check ideas. And another thing I saw, that if he captures, then he allows me to play rook to e8. But here he thought that this wasn't a problem. He played bishop captures. Now the material is equal. There are opposite colored bishops, so it seems like a drawn endgame if he can exchange queens, but not really. Here I played the only move that actually allows black to keep the advantage. I played rook to e8 with the threat of rook to e1. And here he made a move that lost him the game. I was expecting queen to b4. This is the strongest idea, simply guarding e1. But even here I can simply capture on b2, and after he solidifies, let's say bishop to b3, now I did have a clear plan of what to do here. The idea is you have to bring the rook to e3 while your bishop is on f6 or anywhere on this diagonal. The queen can't harass your king on g7, so it's really only black that can do something here. Because what's the big difference in this position? The material is equal, both players have queens, both players have one rook and one bishop. But as you can see, I have pawns on light squares and I have a dark square bishop. So this is a really safe position for my king. And if you look at his position, he has a light square bishop, but he has pawns on light squares. So he has only holes on dark squares, and that's a general rule when you're playing with the opposite colored bishops. The player that is attacked, it's like he's down a piece, because his bishop cannot help defending against my dark square bishop, and it's definitely white that's on the attack. So here the plan would be, after he makes some move, let's say queen a5, he has to do something, rook to e3. This was the main idea. And after this, the plan is clear. The plan is bishop to e5 to idh2 square, and then white is simply lost. For example, whatever white plays, let's say a4, now I have bishop to e5, and now there is no move white can play. If he tries something like queen d2 to exchange queens, I simply play queen to g3, threatening checkmate. And if he moves, now I simply capture it. Rook captures on f3. But that's only one point of this move, rook to e3. Another idea is if he, let's say, moves the bishop, simply not to allow me to capture it with this idea, then I can simply play rook captures on h3. The rook has to be captured, and now I have queen to h2 checkmate. But after I played this rook to e8, he didn't go for queen to b4, he immediately played queen to d3, pressuring my bishop here. But now this is a big blunder, as now I have a forced checkmate in 7 moves. So it's not a very complicated one. Feel free to pause the video and find it. Probably my opponent saw this variation, but he missed one move at the end of the variation. That's why maybe he played queen to d3. So I will give it a couple of seconds. For those of you who were able to find it, congratulations. I'm not gonna say you're a great player, because I played this game as it's not a very difficult one. Here rook to e1 was played, he captured, I captured, he played king to h2, now comes bishop to g1. This was the key idea, as now the king cannot escape with king to g3, and it was in this position that my opponent resigned. King to h1 is forced. Now I would play bishop to f2. This comes with a discovered check, also blocking the king from reaching g3. He'd have to move, and queen to g1 is checkmate. So yeah, after bishop to g1 check, he resigned the game, and I wasn't very impressed by this game I played, as I didn't play the most precise moves, but I was glad it was an interesting game, and I didn't play passively. So you know, one day when I improve my openings and maybe are able to reach move 15 with a decent position, then I will be able maybe to play actively from a decent position. But now that as I don't prepare for games and I don't really have a great knowledge of openings, it's very hard to play. But yeah, I played against Marijan Belani a lot of times, and you know, sometimes I win, sometimes he wins. But as he's a better positional player, I always have to try some active ideas against him. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. This time it worked, so yeah, that's the game. I do hope you enjoyed it. So yeah, as usual, you can check two of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon. Next video is Tal versus Botvinik, game 1 of their World Chess Championship match. Hopefully I can finish that before the 2018 candidate start. So yeah, thank you all, and I will see you soon.